Let's bring in Tim Higgins. He's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal and a CNBC contributor. Tim, can you sort of dwell on that point for a moment about the super cycle and the chip shortage?
Yeah, the super cycle is this thing that investors have been excited about for a long period of time. It's that time when the new hottest iPhone comes out and we just see new records and new profits and new sales that are just blow the mind. And that's what we were expecting this cycle. But then COVID happened, right? That threw some questions over, well, was the market going to be there? And Apple has really just knocked it out of the park up until this point. Now the concern is, well, what's the second half of its fiscal year going to be like? Is Apple going to be able to kind of deliver that second half the way that everybody's models had predicted? So they'll be looking for signals of how excited is Tim Cook about these final two quarters.
So what do you think the pandemic impact is on Apple? We're kind of digesting what it is going to mean in the long run for Alphabet. And I think it was Brian Belsky last week who said a lot of investors bailed on tech too soon, thinking the pandemic trade would end and we'd rotate into the infrastructure and the other stocks. But is Apple the kind of company that is going to have longer benefit from some of the pandemic trends like its tech peers than we appreciate? Or are these supply chain issues going to be a headwind?
Well, that's the question I think a lot of investors are wanting to answer today. So far, Apple's clearly been one of the big COVID era winners, fueling sales of iPads and Macs and really, generating new money in ways that investors weren't expecting. Now with the iPhone, the question is, as we go back to a normal world, is that money going into the new iPhone? Is that money going towards Apple or is it going elsewhere? I think we see that kind of dynamic in the market today between Google and Microsoft, two companies that both did really well last night. But, Google is being rewarded because of that potential for money going into ads in a post-lockup world. And that's where I think investors' minds are today with Apple. What's that new world look like for Apple? And Tim Cook's going to be under pressure to say.
So final question then. We have the earnings this evening. We have the Epic trial coming up. We have this, iOS 14.5 kind of privacy change, whatever you want to call it. Which of those three do you think is the biggest deal in the near term for Apple, for investors?
For investors, I think it's all about the future of the business. It's about what's the next big thing. It's about the next 6 months. The Epic case could be important for Apple, but I don't think investors' minds are really there yet because it's something that they think it could be many years really before it works its way through the courts.
Yeah, fair enough. Tim, thanks for now. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing what they say after the bell.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.